Hello there, welcome to our day 30 out of 50 days of Genesis. We are up to Genesis 30. What
Sweet
a great
honey
read.
from the rock.
Yes, from our sweet honey from the rock. Would you like to start?
Okay, let's see how we go. So
There were so many key takeaways.
But let's begin with Leah giving birth. Yes?
What?
Is it Leah giving birth?
No, when Rachel saw that Leah had four sons consecutively, Rachel was a little bit upset with Jacob. And Jacob, she says, "Give me a child or I shall die."
I will die, yes.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Am I God? Am I in the place of God?" And then she gets so upset that she gives her handmaid, Bilhah?
Bilhah
No, I
or
was
Bilma?
asking the question, is Bilhah and Zilpah
Bilhah.
related? And apparently they are. So they are their sisters of a concubine of Laban. But I couldn't find where that was true. I just thought their names sound quite related. So I don't know where it says in the Bible that they were, but apparently it was Laban's concubine, so they're half-sisters. And maybe, yeah, some of the decisions they made out of emotions, emotions running high, like Rachel was jealous because Leah had the kids. Leah was jealous because Rachel was Jacob's, who he really loved. And that she was his first pick of the marriage bed was her, not Leah. And each were competing, so Leah ends up giving her concubine to have babies. And then some of the names that they called their children were like named after an event, like I am vindicated, or one was lucky.
Well, Dan, he judged. And
Yeah,
then the next child,
Naphtali.
mighty wrestlings, Naphtali, my wrestlings.
Gad, good fortune.
Yes, and that was Leah's handmaid Zilpah. So going back to Leah, good fortune. And Asher, happy. Okay. Yeah. And then Reuben goes out and brings back some mandrakes and shows his mother. And then the youngest sister saying, "Hey, I
want your mandrakes."
Yeah, I want your mandrakes, because mandrakes at that time considered, or still considered, aphrodisiac, or to help with fertility. And so
they actually look like a little man. They're quite freaky. And
yes.
Have I don't know, squeaky noise or something. But they look like a little man.
Then Leah going, "Hey, is this like a small thing? It's bad enough that you stole my husband." And so when Jacob comes back from the field, Leah goes, "Okay, we've got to sleep together because I've hired you with the mandrakes." And so they sleep together, and God listened and answered the prayer of Leah and gave birth to a fifth son, and the name was Issachar. Oh, that's a beautiful name. And Issachar meaning
reward.
Yes, reward. Oh, very good. And then again conceived, and this time a sixth son, Zebulun, which is the Hebrew word for home or elevated place. So that's cool. And then God remembered the prayers of Rachel, and Rachel gave birth to the son Joseph, may he add. Oh, yeah. And so Rachel, oh my gosh, given birth to Joseph, so Jacob talking and discussing with Laban about, hey, come on, I've been working for you all these years and I've prospered you and made you rich, so send me away, me and my wives and family, so we can go and live our lives. And he's saying, come on, why don't you stay? And he goes, well, no, you know, mate, I've blessed you. And so talking about wages. Now, this is something, even though I've read how many times, still working my head around it. About
the sheep and the speckledness. And
Yeah.
That to me, I when I find it's confusing or I can't understand, I'll either watch a sermon or go research for the breakdown, because I still didn't get it. I mean, whether this is still used today as well, speckled and...
So from verse 32 of Genesis chapter 30, let me pass through your entire flock today, removing from it every speckled and spotted sheep, and every dark and black one among the lambs, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and those shall be my wages. So my honesty will be evident for me later when you come for an accounting concerning my wages. Everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and dark among the young lambs, if found with me, shall be considered stolen. And Laban said, good, let it be done as you say. So on that same day, Laban secretly, this is sad.
Yeah, secretly.
Removed the male goats that were streaked and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled, spotted, every one with white on it, and all the dark ones among the sheep, and put them in the care of his sons. And he put a distance of 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob was then left in the care of the rest of Laban's flock. It goes on in verse 37, then Jacob took branches of fresh poplar and almond and plane trees and peeled white stripes in them, exposing the white in the branches. Then he set the branches with which he had peeled in front of the flocks in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink, and they mated and conceived when they came to drink. So the flocks mated and conceived by the branches, and the flocks gave birth to streaked, speckled, and spotted offspring. Jacob separated the lambs, and as he had done with the peeled branches, he made the flocks face forward, the streaked and all the dark or black in the new flock of Laban. And he put his own herds apart from themselves and did not put them where they could breed with Laban's flock. Furthermore, whenever the stronger animals of flocks were breeding, Jacob would place the branches in the sight of the flock in the watering troughs, and that they would mate and conceive among the branches. But when the flock was sickly, he did not put the branches there. So the sicker animals were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. So Jacob became exceedingly prosperous, and had large flocks of sheep and goats and female and male servants and camels and donkeys. So in spite of Laban's best efforts, the Lord increased Jacob through this means or process. It's interesting, huh?
One thing I found was like, at no time do you
I
hear...
don't know, in my room. It's pretty messy.
Well, we just use it.
Yeah, thank you.
You don't hear any talk about...
Oh, you can't see the mess.
Take.
Come here, Steve. Come here,
like a
Bella.
lot of the decision making, like our decision making, you don't hear and Satan said a lot of it with the choices, like just in our choices that we make, which I thought, wow, you don't have no conversation.
Eva saying good night.
Oh, good night, Eva.
Okay. Okay, kiss good night.
Kiss good night.
I'm a kiss. Okay.
Welcome, little Buddha.
Yeah. Good night. I'm a
Little
kiss.
Buddha.
I'm a kiss.
Night.
Kiss, Papa. Oh,
Oh,
She just brushed her teeth.
okay. Good. Brushing your teeth.
breath.
Green
on,
babies.
Stay.
God love them. Okay. Good night.
Kiss her hand.
Yeah, no stage do you hear, you know, there was no temptation or blah, blah, blah. It was all like emotionally driven, I found, like with Rachel saying, you know, I want the mandrakes. and then I'll give you my husband. And the husband's like, doesn't say, no, I shouldn't be used like that. It's just, oh, Humpty-Doo, Humpty-Da.
But it's fascinating to see how the covenant or the blessing of God is outworked through the generations, being promised to Abraham and then to Isaac and to Jacob, and seeing how that pans out and how with each successive generation he's blessing them.
And it's still a part
Yeah.
of a pattern, like the
Oh,
lying.
yes. The lying, but versus Abraham and Isaac, how they were added to or given gifts, etc. Through this
Source,
chapter,
this means,
we see that with Jacob, it's a bit different. How he
goes with
physically, physically built up
And
the
then he
blessing.
physically builds up. So the blessing through his hard work, favour from God, but still things in my head, messes with my head that he's a supplanter. So it's like that to me is like he was acting out of that name that he was given, supplanter.
Oh,
And maybe we haven't got that far yet, but you know, when it talks about the 12 tribes of Israel and how these 12 are all given names, how those play out and when they're blessed by Jacob later on. Because it's just interesting that their names meant different things of that time, but how a name is given is, you know, like you take on that name sometimes, the character. So it's very interesting. But that thing with Rachel, she says when she gives her handmaiden, she says, oh, she will sit on my knees like I'm giving birth.
So that
It's like
an old method of surrogacy.
Yeah, but lying to herself that she actually believed that's, and whether she treated him in that manner, like he was her firstborn, like they just did it ongoing throughout, like these 12 children, and just, I don't know what the relationship was like, you know, that was her firstborn, or was it her firstborn, or did she just, it was a very interesting time for them, like, how did she treat that firstborn if she said he was my firstborn? I was like, very interesting. Anyway, as for our practice, we didn't pray this morning, eh? So we're in a rush. Well, you rushed off. I was still at home. So things like that, for me, are like very important. Like, oh, man.
If it was important, you would have said, hey, let's pray.
This is my sharing time. It is important. Well, you'd already gone anyway, but
Okay.
usually we make the time to pray before we leave the door, you know, leave. We've been waking up very late, actually, eh?
Oh, going to bed very late.
Sleeping in bed.
Yes.
Someone went to bed late. I try and go to bed early, but it's been interesting.
Gotta
I guess
keep
it's
an eye on
been
your-
colder.
They always recommend 8 hours of sleep minimum.
Yeah, get your 8 hours. So we did our reading in the morning. You went for a walk this afternoon because I don't like, if I can get it done during the day, like any exercise during the day, I'll do that rather than wait for him to get home, because it's a maybe or maybe not. So I'm like, oh, better if I just go and do it. So I took the dogs to One Tree Hill. That was a really good walk. Everything else I think is just, you know, taking the time to do deep breathing. I do that when I go in the car and I sit in there before starting the car and I just think, oh, deep breathe. Or while I'm driving, I'm deep breathing. You know, time to do some deep breathing. And action goals. What about you?
I'm just working and doing my exercise. I enjoyed my walk tonight. Just had my sounds on going, playing a bit of old school and that, and It was good. It's unseasonably warm at the moment in Auckland.
Yeah.
I'm finding it quite warm. So it was good to get out, no rain, and enjoying a walk underneath the stars.
Yes, yes. No, it's been good, That night time. Yeah, but that's us. That's our day 30. I don't think there's anything else, but a very interesting read. I mean, as I'm reading again, like he'll read the King James, I'll read the Amplified after. Amplified gives more context.
It's great little notes.
Little side notes on
Little
there.
side notes which Berta doesn't usually read, but I always like to read the notes because I feel they really add to the reading and gives great insight.
I don't mind reading them. I just get
Historical
confused when I first
notes, or
started and finished.
talking about practices, because that's what I read about the practice in the Amplified with, was it Bilha or Zilpa?
Oh, and that was
on the
another thing
knees
about
as a form of
Zilpa.
surrogacy.
Zilpa and Bilha may possibly be sisters, but in the Hebrew word, like the breakdown of in the Amplified, it suggests that they were sisters. That's why.
Okay.
Anyway, that was our findings. That was great. Day 31 tomorrow. All right, good night.
Bless you guys. Change the world.